Well, I am really happy to introduce today a wonderful man who is excelling in the area of sharing the beautiful Healy device with everyone around the world. And he is also someone I really relate to because, Mark, you talk a lot about the things that I'm interested in, like metaphysical things, the galactic information. You do a galactic update every week about Healy. And so the way you talk really aligns with my values. I have this show, Arise Humanity, on YouTube, and it's all about raising consciousness, rising the vibration and the frequency of the planet and of humanity. And it was great because the first thing you said in your last galactic talk was that Healy is a device that is here to raise the frequency and the vibration of people and the planet. And I thought, wow, that's a great topic. But first of all, I'd like to just say hi and welcome and just ask you to give us a bit of a rundown about your history and, where you've come from and what's inspired you to be who you are now.
Well, first of all, thank you for the introduction and for the invitation to be on. It's really, it's one of those things I've come to learn since I was, and I guess starting the backstory of how I got to this point, as a young child, I was always fascinated by human behavior. My mum would tell you I was always this happy young, kid that would just walk up and down the street, just hanging out with all the neighbors and the rest. And then as I grew older and older and went into high school, they've got that thing society's always saying, well, what are you going to study? You're going to go to university, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, and all these things. But early on in my life, I had these visions of being on stage. I had these visions of performing, and so at the time, I always thought, oh, well, that must be an actor. So I spent actually a lot of the first part of my life denying that part of myself, trying to fit into what everyone wanted from me, because I have a mind that can think quite, logically, etc. And then that then led me to kind of rebelling against it all, and that's to really pursue this question of like, hang on a second, what's behind that, which I later began to discover is really the essence of sovereignty. And that took me on a journey into, I was a performing cocktail bartender at one time. That was going to be my career. And I realize now I love the psychology aspect of that. So I got to study people in all their different characters and travel the world with it. That then led me into becoming a circus performer, not traditional circus, but more like Cirque du Soleil type, but obviously just nightclubs, things like that. We were doing very creative. And so my performer started to coming out more and more. Ah. And that was an amazing journey that eventually then someone turned up at the bar during the daytime, and she used to come and have tea and handed me this book on the Enneagram. And so those that don't know, Enneagram's like a personality analysis type tool.
Yeah.
And that's what made me realize, hang on, there's actually a structure here. There is actually something. And so then I went on a deep dive for the next, I don't know, it's been 15, 20, 25 years. It all feels like, 2 years and 1,000 at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that was really what took me into this exploration that eventually I found human design. So I became did the human design training and started working with that. That helped me to really take my authority back, in the world and reclaim that. And that led to the Gene Keys work, and the Mayan Dream Spell, which is the galactic Mayan weather reports that I do at the start of the Healy calls. Yeah. And all of that kind of has come full circle with Healy, and where now it's really exciting. And it's amazing, Medina, seeing how many people in the Healy community around the world are in tune with human design, Gene Keys, and all these things. So
yes, absolutely. A lot of people talking about those two things at the minute, human design and Gene Keys. Can you perhaps sum up what they are? Is that possible to do?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the way that I find is the simplest way to put it forwards is human design. I like to think of as the workshop manual for the vehicle that your consciousness has incarnated in this lifetime. So, is it a four-wheel drive? Is it a race car? Is it a helicopter? Because they all move differently. They all need different fuels. They're very unique.
Yes.
And if you try to drive a four-wheel drive like a race car, you'll burn the engine out, you'll destroy it, and you'll feel like an absolute failure. Whereas if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, yes. So your analogy is that the human body is in one of those formats. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that when you look at human design, what it's essentially giving you is the circuitry of the vehicle that we're in. And our DNA, our genetics, it's coding.
Yes.
Our DNA is coding. We are like our computers are just replicating us.
Mm-hmm.
We're replicating ourselves, in that outer reflection to learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that sense, human design, yeah, is really just understanding how does this work, this thing that I'm incarnated in, so that I can drive it as best as possible. Which then goes to the gene keys work,
Yeah.
which is actually two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
They use the same information, the same data, it's using the same mapping. Except for me, the gene keys feels more feminine in its pursuit. And I often think of the gene keys as being, if human design is the workshop manual, for your vehicle, for knowing how to drive it, then the gene keys is like the map and the compass of the racetrack, of your hero's journey that you have to go ahead. And so that's how I kind of work with those two in different ways, but also very complementary.
And I love that there's a lot of the divine feminine in that too, because really the whole revolution on the planet that's happening at the moment is the reactivation of the divine feminine and our ability to really tap into that and bring that back onto the sort of consciousness of humanity, because it has been suppressed for so long. So it's great to hear that that is a big aspect of it as well.
Absolutely. And I kind of feel, Medina, that human design is almost like this masculine framework, because it can sometimes be very intellectual if people kind of approach it from that way. But I feel like human design is a powerful masculine framework that enables us and gives us almost a permission slip and a way home to the feminine inside us, that receptivity.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that everyone's heard, the rising of the feminine and this and a lot of people think that means women, and it's like it's the feminine aspect, that receptivity, that in all of us.
Yes.
And that idea that we will be led by the feminine doesn't mean it has to be a woman's body, but it means what needs to lead us is that divine consciousness, is that capacity to surrender to our higher self and drop our ego and receive that kind of inspiration of, okay, where are we heading? And then we receive that feminine, wisdom, that powerful guidance of where things are moving. And then the masculine wants to be in service to that feminine, wants to worship that feminine, and then bring it into manifestation.
And it's not saying one's better than the other, because they're both sort of complementary and they're both very important and necessary. But some people characterize it in for example, the North American Indian way of seeing it is that the man is the grounded protector of the feminine energy, and she's the one that taps into the spiritual, and she brings that down and to the earth, and then he helps to sort of protect and guard that energy. And so the two of them work together to create the highest potential for all souls.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And when we talk of, arise humanity and sovereignty and this thing, it's a powerful thing to really witness and realize how many of our collective stories and misunderstandings are sending us in many, there's been so many women that, yes, you can do anything. Absolutely. And when we say masculine, feminine, yes, some women will, and a lot of women will have a strong feminine, in the man. A lot of men will have a strong masculine, and some will have it other ways.
Yes.
And in the end, yes, you can do anything you want. So it's really important to ensure that no movement is making you feel guilty. If you want to be a stay-at-home mother that cares for the child, looks after the house, I almost get emotional and teary thinking about that. Because as a single full-time father, I was the single full-time mother since my boy was 4 years old. He's turning 13 next month.
How beautiful. And that is the hardest job there is as well. It's the most gratifying, but it's also the most demanding and the hardest as well. So, for anyone to put down, they obviously haven't ever done it.
Right. It breaks my heart when it's seen as like, oh, I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I can do, I'm going to lead the, corporate world. And it's like, I think men shouldn't even be in that corporate world. Like, that's unhealthy for
Right.
all of us.
That's right.
But it's that thing of, to be at home, you know, that traditional role of the women has kind of been, you know, seen and like, oh, that's you know, we don't, yeah. But in reality, there's nothing more precious
That's right.
than, whether it's the man or the woman, the one who plays that role to create the home. That's a full-time job. I mean, I'm sure, Medina, you know, and anyone else out there, it's trying to keep a household going on your own and
Yes.
having everyone out working. It's tough.
And energetically
Mm.
holding the space for those children to be at their best, you know, to have their highest potential. And I think even to have a mother and father at home, I mean, that is the ideal situation where they're all at home anyway. And I think in the future that will be the case, that, you know, we will be doing what we love. And if that is the choice, that they're both at home simultaneously, then that's brilliant as well. It reminds me of the my phone's gone. It reminds it reminds me of the thing where you know, in the future we will be choosing, we'll all be supported like financially, you know, as we go into the new age, into the golden age, and we would just be able to make a choice of all being together at home if we want to. And you know, those communities of the North American India and the, you know, different cultures where they were able to do that, and even they'll have their extended families there as well, you know, supporting that whole, you know, extended family environment. So that I think that we need to expand all ways of perceiving how we can be in the world, because there are so many better options than the Western models that we've been dealing with. Do you see
Absolutely.
that? Do you see that the balance of the male female in terms of our evolution will be that we go forward as having like the perfect harmonious balance, where they're both equally profound within us, but they're completely balanced? Or do you think that that's how we're going to evolve?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to a point these days, Martina, where, you know, I spent so many years pursuing the truth to the end of the galaxy and back, trying to work out what, you know, what's going on, how this, what's that. And then I realized the more I looked, the more it generated more answers. And, you know, it's kind of, it never ended. And so these days I kind of come back to a place I'm finding really the most powerful, you know, process is really, you know, I don't know. I don't know anything really.
Yes.
But what I feel, what I like to imagine for the way things are going, just to pre-frame that, is I feel what we're going through, and then we see this with, you know, our, you know, this current obsession with identity and different things in the world. It's like all these things is like evolution, you know, evolution needs some grittiness, it needs heat, you know, and so we have these kind of conflicts and debates and things because we're still in early stages of humanity. We are so early in the, we think we've been here forever, but it's incredibly early. And I do feel that, like what you're saying, we've gone from a place of needing to be codependent on each other in the past. It's actually a shadow of the Gene Keys work. Codependence was a survival mechanism that we needed in order to get the human vehicle past the road bumps of cavemen and women days. We're moving into a new time now where I think what we're seeing is a collapsing of the old paradigm of relationships where one held the masculine, the other held the feminine. And I think we are going to see, like you're speaking to here, I think we are going to see that balance of the masculine feminine inside, where my feminine can nurture me and my masculine can protect me, and I can be, you know, completely independent in myself so that I'm not needing anyone else. So then it becomes a powerful choice when I choose another. And then in that place, the Gene Keys would say that that's the higher frequency of codependence as it evolves becomes interdependence.
Yeah.
Because as a human species, we need each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we need each other to create this moving machine. If all of us were in a cave on our own, we wouldn't get another generation past. So it's that thing of what does it look like to still need each other on a bigger picture as a one cell of human species, this one entity in a sense of human species. But within that, connecting from a place of independence, interdependence, in that sense that I don't need you, you don't need me, but I choose to work with you. You choose to work with me, and together, that means the fear's not there because you're not going to lose anything. It's okay if you choose something else and you decide next week, okay, well, that was fun. And I think that's what we're going to see is that healthy balance absolutely within ourselves. And from there, creativity, economics, all of this is going to change.
Yeah, definitely. There's a relationship expert in America, Catherine, I'll put her name up across the top, I can't remember her last name, but she talks about 80% of our happiness is, the relationships that surround us. And, that's an interesting way of perceiving the world, knowing that we are all one unified quantum field. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think on the weekend conference, we just had the Healy Sydney conference here flew over to Sydney, and I'm still here in Sydney heading back tomorrow. We had the conference and they were talking about this, that, really reflecting on this idea that, we think it's me, we got this idea, like this is just one person right here. Me, I'm a man, I'm 41, I'm this, and I've got my labels and identities. But inside this vehicle here is a massive community. It is a giant community of, you could say sentient cells that are kind of communicating and working together. And if the cells don't work together, we don't have a heart. We don't have a liver. We need cohesion. We need coherence in that community. And so this ease, as they say, comes from a lack of ease within that community.
Absolutely.
And so what's within us is also outside of us. And I think life is very fractal like that,
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of that whole context of your understanding of the way the world is and how we are, how does Healy contribute to that? What has it meant to you when you discovered Healy? For me, when I first heard about it, Mark, I straight away intuitively got a big green light from my spiritual team. They go, yes, this is brilliant, go for it. So straight away I got a big tick, and I knew I had to explore it more. But then, the more I know about it, the more I use it, the more I understand that it works with us in this quantum field so beautifully, and aligns us with what we're really working towards in terms of the evolution of humanity in the golden age. So tell me about your Healy journey, what it's meant to you in your exploration of consciousness and yourself.
Yeah, no, I think you frame it beautifully there. It's, to be honest, Medina, when Healy first came, this little thing, I mean, I've been really fascinated by technology and, alternative technologies for a long time, always watching the way things are evolving. Had experience with scalar devices and things that blew me away when I started realizing, oh, this is real. There is real quantum physics to what's going on here. And then even to the point of understanding that, again, like our technology often replicates what happens inside us. Our mobile phones are kind of imitating our natural capacity for telepathy, right? The internet is naturally replicating the noosphere, as Pierre Chardin would say, this collective mental sheath around the planet where we all upload and download our information as we're connected and self-aware, so that we don't just repeat things all the time. And with Healy, when this came along, it was Ada here that introduced it to me, an old friend of mine. We'd worked on different projects together around sovereignty, actually. And I remember, similar to yourself, I had a solid green light about the product, a solid green light about the Healy.
It's funny, isn't it? And you don't even really know. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but you're just getting yes.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then the paradox for me was I had a lot of wounding around the business model that it uses, to get it out there, with social selling, network marketing, however you want to call it. And so I actually watched a conflict suddenly happen inside my body. I suddenly was angry that the technology that I was so looking forward to coming, which I didn't think was going to come for another 5 years, is suddenly here, but I can't get it unless I participate. Well, you don't even have to take part in building teams and things, but it was within that network marketing model. And I saw these parts of myself in conflict now. One saying yes, the other going, oh, because of my trauma and wounding around it from my early 20s. And so what Healy became for me, and I feel like it was almost the graduation process over the weekend, the final surrendering of the old beliefs and old patterns, is it helped me to understand sacred economics. It helped me to understand, you know, that, for example, Healy didn't start as network marketing. It started as, the time waiver therapist. There's a bigger machine that, you know about, that they were doing it from their offices, but it was taking so long to get out there. And Marcus Schmecker, the amazing inventor of this, his vision was to get it into every household, because what Healy has shown itself to support for me is bringing cohesion and coherence to my community within my body.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
it's bringing my mind, body, and soul into helping support, bring that into coherence, into cooperation. And that in turn allows me to be more independent, as we talked about, that masculine feminine balance,
Mm.
so that I'm no longer looking externally, because to get away from this, you know how it feels like we want to escape from our bodies. It feels uncomfortable in so many ways.
Especially in the last 2 years, with everything
Oh,
been happening on the planet and this whole big transition. I mean, I don't know how I would have been able to navigate it without my healing, to be honest. Even though I meditate, I'm quite health conscious. I try and do all the right things, but it's just supported that process of going through this so much. And I'm very grateful because
absolutely.
I got on board, pretty much before it all happened. So that was a gift. But everything that you're talking about, and then enhance that with all the magnification of the chaos and all the things that we're seeing as the world is transiting into a new age, and we're getting rid of the old, and it's all coming to the surface, and all the darkness is revealing itself, and then we've got to work our way through all that as well. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, yeah. It's so true. It's so true, Medina. I I found myself over those 2 years being very resistant in sharing Healy because of my wounding around it. So I had to overcome this. And eventually it was like I had this voice, it was my higher self, however you want to think of it, saying, get over yourself, get
because,
over it,
because
because people
ultimately,
need this.
exactly, because ultimately it's all just about contribution to the collective of what people need. So the more you can meet the demand of what is needed in the world, the greater you'll be able to impact, in terms of your
Mm,
soul at this time. And that's the way I look at Healy, which is it's really meeting a demand that is out there in the collective for people to be able to feel stronger spiritually, mentally,
mm,
emotionally, physically, and to build immunity in their systems, and to be able to be energetically protected, to be as unified at a cellular level as they can, through everything that's going on. I mean, I was just listening to a talk the other day. I don't know how much I can say on the channel, but the frequency weaponry and the dew weaponry and the harp weaponry and all that sort of frequency and sound stuff that's been directed at us, often without us consciously being aware, by the dark to undermine us energetically. And you think of the positive aspect of that is things like Healy, which is in countering all that stuff that's happening, and creating a stronger fields around us, and things like that. I don't know if you've explored that at all, but oh boy, it's a rabbit hole.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is a rabbit hole, and it's one of those things where, I spent a lot of time in that over the years, but and did a lot of work in New Earth Project. If people know Sasha Stone, and he's
Yes.
and seeing a lot of what was happening out there, and frequency is not a woo-woo concept. It's a very real physics concept,
Mm.
energy, vibration, frequency.
Tesla. Anyone who
And
knows that Tesla.
right.
Yeah.
And the military have been using it forever. It's not a secret. It's very open. They've got frequency devices, like you say, frequency weapons, etc.
Mm.
And it actually was one of the things I struggled with a lot in my spiritual journey was since a young age. I was maybe 4 years old, I think I was, teaching my mother how to use one of the early computers. I still remember showing her how to put the cassette tape in. You had to push it down, press play, you hear all these, and you have all these colors, and you cross your fingers hoping the game or whatever would load. And I was 4. And my whole life, I've always loved technology and always loved where that was going. But in the spiritual communities, that was kind of shunned. I felt like I had to hide that part because it was seen as
Well,
a disconnection.
transhumanism and transhumanism, they're wanting to create this AI artificial, transhumanist society, the globalist agenda. And so there is a sort of like a subconscious reaction going on. Oh, no, I don't want to be too involved with technology. If that's right. But there's, when you think about it too, there's the positive AI, and then there's the negative. I mean, the positive can really enhance everything that we're doing and enhance our lives, but it has to be in balance with the benevolent direction of where we're going, and the supporting the evolution rather than going against it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key to it, what makes the difference, is self-awareness.
Yeah.
As we cultivate self-awareness, we have that capacity to just be able to witness ourselves, to see, so that we can be. And that's really what human design, gene keys, all these tools, and Healy has been amazing.
So well, doesn't it? Self-awareness.
Yeah.
I was going to say that before. That's one of the things, because it can analyze your field and say exactly what you're working on. And sometimes it can be a little confronting.
It is German. We were talking about this weekend. It's German translations, and German can be pretty direct at times, as a language.
But this is really our spiritual test of mastery at the minute, which is to be able to really look at ourselves honestly and authentically and say, what areas do I need on to really grow as a soul and to evolve? That's what we're here to do, is to evolve and to grow. So what a wonderful complementary addition to enhance that ability, which is really one of the major reasons why we're here, which is to really become more than that, to become everything that we are, which is to really be able to utilize our fullest DNA, as the light encodings keep coming down from the sun, and the light frequency rises all the time. I was just looking at the sun yesterday. Oh my gosh, it was so bright. And just being able to really do everything we can to enhance the evolution of our DNA and our genetic lineage, because we are we're not just human beings. We have galactic origins, and we're wanting to tap into all that so we can really tap into our superpowers and the fullest potential of who we are. And I think Healy is part of that. I think often when people talk about Healy, they talk about it at a sort of like a practical level, but I also see it at that spiritual level, that it's really part of that journey to a higher consciousness. And some people then say, oh, well, isn't it sort of like AI? Aren't you going outside yourself or using something external to yourself? But no, in my way of perceiving it, it's actually enhancing your own gifts to be able to accelerate your own journey. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I agree 100%. It's and I come up against these conversations a lot, and again, as a lover of technology, and I see it as no separation from us. People say, oh, it's artificial, it's synthetic. It's like, what does that mean, really? I mean, if consciousness flows through everything, then it is a product of consciousness. And every atom, every molecule, every particle is a part of God. It's a part of consciousness. I like to think of God as a galactic ordering dynamic, right? So whatever it is, It's this deeper part that's like the
I've
map,
got
the
another one for
information
you.
field.
I've got another one for you, Mark.
Yeah.
Gift of divine. Gift of the divine.
Yes, gift of the divine. Absolutely.
Gift of divinity.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and this is the magic of, so this is something that I found is a deep part of my purpose in coming forward, and where Healy, challenged me. It called me to my power, and it's been an amazing, you know, network. I was having this conversation today with somebody that, network marketing is actually potentially one of the, if not the most powerful thing I've come across for self-development, because it embodies all these different aspects of leadership, self-leadership. It's communication, it's integrity, it's, sacred economics. It's all these, it's how energy moves and flows. Not to mention the product is all about, these things.
I just wonder, there's so many things you're saying, and I'm thinking, oh, that's a great point and wanting to talk about it.
But yeah, got lots of rabbit holes. No, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Because it's actually going against the corporate model, isn't it? Because it's empowering the person to empower themselves. And what we're actually doing on the planet at the moment is we're deconstructing corporations that have all the profits, all the money, all the power. We want to go away from those models. So it's actually serving the greater good in that sense. And I think a lot of the negative stuff that comes could be from those sources, the cabal of just sort of trying to discourage us from going in that direction because it doesn't empower the corporations.
Right. So this is a really important point right here that you're tapping on. Is part of this journey is we need to be very discerning, and that means I need to be discerning, because no one could be discerning for me. Because as long as someone else is discerning for me, I've externalized my authority to somebody else.
Yes.
Which means we all need to be able to really not just, because if we just group into collective beliefs, there's a name for that. It's a cult, right? We live in a collective cult. Society is a cult. A cult is simply a group of shared beliefs. And culture is actually the byproduct of cults. It's we romanticize it in so many ways, and it's not a bad thing. Because we need to come together with beliefs. Otherwise, it would be very tricky in the past.
Yeah.
But there is that part where we're coming into a time now where, like, you and I need to be able to have a conversation like this, where we don't have to agree. We just happen to, that's why we're having the conversation. We happen to resonate on a lot of things. But we're moving into a time where we need to be discerning, because one way of really knowing where to look is, where do you feel the resistance? Because if you've got resistance about something, then maybe make sure that resistance is from your inner authority, not someone else's.
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of things, like, these attitudes towards technology, these attitudes towards, like, say about Healy being, isn't it AI, isn't it this, isn't it that? It makes sense. Like, it makes strategic warfare sense. That's what they do in war. They use propaganda to implant doubt and division in order to weaken the mind, because that is where you can then control the mind, because we're in the hindbrain in survival. We're no longer thinking logically. So they plant these little, almost like detonations of concepts and ideas within the communities.
Not to mention the voice of God technology, which literally does that, as well, where people are hearing voices and it's not even them externally going in that way. It's not even subconscious. I can hear it.
Right. Yeah. I remember it's changing a bit now, but in the earlier days, how quickly people would say, I heard it from a voice in my head, and that means I can trust it. It's like, hey, hang on. What does your authority respond to that voice? That's what matters. Yeah. Is it really right? Otherwise, again, we're externalizing to God, like church. It's
an upliftment of the soul too, isn't it? When it's a truth, when you align. Right. You feel like a raising in frequency. Again, all of that frequency. That can also indicate that you've aligned with the truth.
Absolutely. The body lights up. Again, it's a community. It's like, but the trick is, until we really cultivate that level of self-awareness, a lot of us are still in these autopilot modes, our conditioning, and we're reacting all the time. And the fear is I mean, social media, the news, everyone is just generating fear constantly. It's how they sell. And if we're in that state, it's very hard to trust yourself.
Yeah.
It's very hard to, and that's where, I believe things like, the church and religion was really important in the past, because we needed something to unify us when we weren't ready yet ourselves. And now we see that crutch kind of falling away as we start embodying it more. And I feel, this technology, coming back to the frequency warfare and things like this, people, 5G, 4G, all these kind of conversations that have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of projections onto these things in different ways. And there's also truth in these things as well. And if we push away technology as a whole, then we are basically laying down at the feet of these technologies. They come out and will be destroyed.
I was going to say that too. I was going to say exactly that point. Oh my God, we're so on the same page here. Because if you just allow the dark to utilize these technologies and the AI and the frequencies, but you don't take advantage of the positive, benevolent ones that are coming through, you're actually going to really undermine your own protection. You're going to be just vulnerable to some really negative potential things happening, because if they're allowed to use it on that end, why can't you use it for the positive on the other end? You know what I'm saying? Which is exactly what you're saying. I know I was going to make that point earlier, and you've just brought it up now. So I love that you said that. Yeah.
And of course we have to be careful, as you and I are both aware, with compliance and everything. Again, government organizations that have rules as to what's okay and what's not. And I think we've seen from the last 2 years that integrity is not their highest value. But we have to, within, yeah, I'm feeling generous today. Hey, in the end, I truly believe we still need to have love and compassion for even those that are enacting, because they themselves are not separate from God.
That's true. Absolutely.
And that, and I, at the deepest level, Medina, I truly believe that all of this is part of the cosmic evolutionary function. Like, it's how we evolve. We evolve. If you look at evolution needs heat. It's like, not to get too gritty and the rest, but sex. It's like sex is creativity at its purest form, and you need friction, you need heat, you need that passion and fire, and in order to be able to give birth, to create something new. And so I feel like that divine connection when in reality, and so that's the key right there, right? The frequency that you are connecting in that connection. And when I say sex, of course we have the physical, but it's also business, partnerships. It's that two energies coming together. Like right now, our energy comes together. We create whatever we create together, and we give birth to this moment between us. And that becomes something that's now going to live on, in YouTube, where people can share from. And the difference between what is born is what frequency do we meet at. If you and I are meeting from fear, like, I'm worried about whether you're going to agree with me, I'm worried about what people will think. That's like how people, sex often happens in low socioeconomic areas and leads to, all these kinds of things. It's still not wrong. It's just part of the evolutionary process. But when you come together in divine union, and you come together with that connection where, that source is flowing through you and the other, and creating that complete circuit, then what is born from that is beautiful.
Absolutely.
And what is born from that is a gift to the world.
Yes.
And it's, like I say, in whatever we do.
Yes. I don't write down any questions. I just go into the flow, and it's it's so great to be in this flow with you of all this interesting information. These are things that I haven't really covered in many other videos. So I'm loving it. It's great. So with
feelings mutual.
Thank you. So with Healy at the moment too, I did want to mention to people that we do have some very special offers at the moment. Can you just share? We've got the Black Friday offer. I never liked that term, Black Friday, but anyway, how they term it, that how that's coming up, and that it's probably the best Healy of forever, isn't it? That has been out there.
Hands down, like I just got off a call with our mutual friend Jason,
Oh yes.
and just sharing the news and different things and the excitement that's in the air. I need to go get my feet on the ground and ground with what's happening. I feel like, because those that know the history of, might have seen Healy followed that over the last couple of years. The first couple of years were rough. We pre-launched way before it was ready, and different things. Customer support didn't exist. It was brutal, and we all had to step up and fulfill that role.
And the issue was that the product was so fantastic. A lot of people wanted it, when they found out about it, and then when they tried it, but they couldn't keep up with that because they didn't have the structural foundation,
right?
Support that initially, and that was because the product was so good as well.
Absolutely, and many companies have collapsed under being too successful. It's a very known thing in startups. And so what's beautiful, and why I'm giving that quick background before the promo bits, is after this weekend, I like to get to meet the heart of these organizations, to feel the integrity and the people that are running them. And I got to do that this weekend, and I got to see the absolute genuine authenticity and care that is in these people. That Healy world as a company is.
I've noticed that with the people.
I'm proud. Like, I'm wearing the shirt now.
Yes, I've noticed that with people in here. They're very much energetically aligned to my energy. That they care about the planet, they care about health, they care about other people, and that's just the energy that I get from people. And they're also very aware, very self-aware, and very aware of what's happening in the world. So I energetically align with the people that are on that path as well. I've noticed that.
Absolutely. So that was for me the go. That was okay, we're ready now. I've been waiting almost 3 years, Medina, for this moment. Wow. And I finally aligned myself ready for this. And after the weekend, I've seen that the company has aligned themselves. They've got the support in place. They've got the distribution in place. Everything's rock and rolling. They've got the right people in position. And so these promotional offers that are on right now under the Black Friday, which all these terms, I'm a big advocate of reclaiming the power of words. Like I love black. Black is not a bad color. Yes, it has its context and could be used in different ways, same as technology. But hey, it's the Black Friday thing itself is another story. But putting all that aside, we also have to acknowledge the realism of what people recognize in the collective, and that we need to learn, okay, let's play the game, because if you want to help people get out of the matrix, you need to go into the matrix and meet them there and help them find the way out. And that's why we need self-awareness. That's why we need Healys, so that we can hold our space for ourselves and go into that matrix and help lead them and show them the way out of that in that sense.
That equates to this amazing saying that you can only hold as much light as you can be able to be aware of the dark. So the more you can go in and be aware of the darkness that exists, the more light you're able to hold. So there's sort of an analogy for what you're just saying.
If people took what you just said, Medina, just that, and sat and chewed on that for days, weeks, months, that would continue to give and give and give and give. And I believe you are absolutely right. In my experience, that is the truth of it for me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Me too.
And so the promotion, so we could get lost in this conversation again and again. So let's get those bits out. There's quite a few happening. So there's they've actually done an extension of so we've got until the 27th. People can buy was it a Healy Resonance or above, and get a free gold.
Yeah.
As well as, what was I've gone blank on what the actual discount was. But if they have a look on, you've got your link there. It's an insane deal.
Here it is.
Yeah, if you can check that one.
There. So.
Oh, fantastic! What better way than to show them?
So, do you want to run through that?
Oh, so this is USA only, this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is the thing. We're a global organization, and USA. So if you're in USA and you're watching this, it is literally the biggest offer that has ever been announced ever is happening in USA. And yeah, as you can see there, you can get the Healy Professional Edition, which is basically all the programs. You've got digital nutrition, you've got bioenergetic vitalization. So this is frequencies for, your vitamins, your different, nutritional supplements and things. It's got the frequencies that help us absorb that. You've got the vitalization, which is, I'm not sure how much we can say publicly on what that is, but let me just say it's kind of the one that supports the anti-aging process and really allowing our body to rebuild itself and renew itself.
Fantastic. I know what you're saying.
Hence vitalization.
Read the lines.
Yeah, right. I think everyone can read between those lines. So the professional is like it's the mother kit in that sense. It's where you have the frequencies for everything you could dream of. You've got the success coach where you can scan, set your intention, and it has blown my mind how it can really help
somebody that works with other people, like as a healer or an energy worker or someone who's helping other people in this holistic field. It's very good for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's that promo, and on top of that, so you can get the Healy Resonance or above, get the free gold, and so if you go to the shop, you'll see the offers all there. But the one, Medina, that most people weren't aware of, including myself until an hour ago, is this new product that was released by Healy, I think in last month, was it, in Australia? It's called the Mag Healy. Yeah. And the Mag Healy it's a partnership with Carolyn McMacken, who's actually very well known out there in the frequency world, using frequency specific microcurrents, where she's helped like NFL superstars to be able to heal their broken bones and things so that they can play at the Super Bowl, where without her, the doctors had said, there's no way you're playing the Super Bowl. So she gets flown over to these teams, that, I don't know if she still does now, but she was doing this where people were flying her over to help get these people back up into the game and things. She's partnered up and brought her frequencies and partnered up with Healy World. And she's now, instead of using the dual microcurrents that she uses, where you'd have to have the two different currents coming in, and they do this magical way of working with the body, the Mag Healy uses two magnetic frequencies, magnetic fields, so that are used in different ways. So one magnetic field is at one frequency and the other one's generated at another frequency. And that helps kind of direct it in a really beautiful way using her frequencies of FSM. So this, I've loved this. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and blows my mind. You can use it to charge water. So you put it on your water bottle or however it is, and it uses the magnetic fields to actually structure the water. A lot like Dr. Emoto, many would have seen, who talks about, using love and intention to shape water. Now you can do it very specifically using the magnetic fields.
Yeah.
Yes, the hidden meaning of water. Exactly. The Mag Healy is bringing that to everyone to be able to do very easily.
Right.
Now, the beautiful thing that I didn't know about this is they said the word was that they won't be discounting this. And because basically Healy has been going through the early stages where there's been huge promos and things. Those times are coming to an end because now it's starting to stabilize. They're returning the true value back. People are starting to bring back the real value to these devices. But what they did do, and suddenly we found out today, is until the 27th, if you get a Mag Healy, you will also get a free Healy Resonance Plus with that. And that's worth, I can't remember off the top of my head, but
a lot.
It's an incredible offer. So a lot. So that means, because people often ask, should I just get the Mag Healy then? Do I need the Mag? Yeah, do I need the normal Healy? But they're not replacements for each other. They're complementary. And the best, the best way to explain it, Healy uses a combination of microcurrents and quantum frequencies, and is like, working directly with you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's working with my body, it's working with my cells, it's working. So it's like, the one that works with me directly. And the Mag Healy is more an environmental product that works with the environment. You can work with the water, but and so you can have this in a meditation or a sound healing. Like, that is an incredible way to use it. Like right now I'm running Coherence.
Yeah.
So it's using magnetic fields to help keep my heart and mind in coherence, so that when I'm connecting with you, I can be as coherent as possible and share from my heart.
Beautiful.
So it can be used in a million ways, but the bonus of it is you also can have using Carolyn McMacken's frequencies by putting it in different parts of your body. So even though you can use this on your body and it's incredible for your body, and I have been using it myself, obviously you can't walk around with that sitting on your neck. You can't walk around with that sitting here kind of thing. So it's not a wearable device. Whereas the Healy, I have this on me if you're going to an event and you need to present, that can just be sitting tucked on your pocket, in your pocket. I can be at work, if you're working a normal job where you're on the typewriter and lots of stress and all these things, then the Healy is incredible to have in that sense for stress, for all these, aspects. So that's what's cranking out there. So it is a great time until the 27th to come and join the community.
So how far does the field extend on the Mag Healy? If you've got, for example, I remember you saying that you took it into a restaurant to just sort of harmonize the restaurant. How far does it extend when it's working in terms of the effect that it's having?
So Healy put forward in the documentation that the Mag Healy itself creates a magnetic field that the way that I interpret it is that up to 1.5 meter radius, so that would be a 3 meter, which one is that? 3 meter diameter across the circle. So 1.5 meters either way from the Mag Healy, up, down, left, right, creates a sphere of frequency. That I believe it does at full power in a sense. That's where it's solid at that. Now, obviously, there's not a magical wall where it just stops. Frequency magnetic fields don't just stop there.
No.
So it will continue going out, but it will just become less and less and less. So if you're within that 3 meter sphere, then you'll be absorbing the full power, the magic of it.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to know. The other thing is that there is still a 45% off Healy until the end of November, I think, too, in Australia.
45%. That's the number I was missing, Medina. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So 45% off. Was it the Healy resonance?
Everything above Healy, resonance and above. Yeah.
Now it's 45% off until the end of the month, and if you get it before the 27th, so if you pull the trigger by the 27th, then you'll actually get a free Healy Gold, which means you will actually receive 2 devices instead of just the one. The Healy Gold in Australia is worth around 800, I think it is, give or take. The Healy Gold contains, as you know, the gold programs, which are 144,000 frequencies that there's the care program, which is to me, it's like the mother's touch, to a child that allows the immune system to feel safe and start working. You've got energy, which replaced, energy drinks and things for me back in the day when, trying to keep up with everything going on. Now I just run energy, it's amazing. So the Healy Gold is priceless, and anyone who gets a Healy, and anyone who gets a Healy, trust me, it's not long before you're sitting there thinking, man, I'm going to need another one. Like I've got 5 or 6 in my family that are floating around because I want to use mine. My brother wanted one, and then the other brother, and then the mother, and then these others. And so as much as you can share them around, you will find that when you fall in love with it and you're using it, it's definitely worth making that decision before the 27th if this is calling you and you're feeling inspired.
And I also have one for my dog who he's sensitive, soft, sensitive, beautiful ball of love. And so he's adorable. And so I put him with the Healy coil, because the coil is something that creates, again, that quantum field around. And then I attach it to his little harness. And there, you plug that into the Healy. It creates a field, and then you don't have to have any special cords to attach to him, because he can just put it on his little harness. And you know what he does as soon as I put it on him? He just goes to sleep and absorbs the energies. He just straight away relaxes and goes to sleep. And there was a few times he did it and we needed more rest. And I thought, well, that's perfect. But he also has other programs, like he gets a little bit irritated eyes with the outside with the grasses and things like that. So, it's working with him in different ways as well whenever he needs it. And
absolutely.
It was funny because he did an analysis where he wanted more freedom. And So we brought along, he told us in the analysis that he wanted, so we brought, because we have to have him on a lead a lot here because there's some wild dogs roaming around here. So we got a really long lead for him, and he was happy as a bird because he felt more freedom. He was running all over the place. So you can read.
How incredible is that, Nadine, to be able to,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's we're really seeing that science and spirituality are starting to meet now. Where we're starting to see that it's no longer this fluffy. People go, oh, but how's that work? It's the Healy. It's got this quantum noise generator, and by watching the patterns that are generated in random noise, you're able to actually see how the quantum world is influencing it. So you're able to actually read energy fields. You're able to see how these things. So we finally have a bridge between the worlds, and it's allowing us to communicate in so many ways that we just weren't able to before.
Yeah, incredible. Well, I've got details below for anyone that's interested in following up, getting more information on Healy. Very happy to send anyone more information. I say to really encourage people before the end of this month to get on board because of the amazing offers. Can I just ask you before we leave, Mike? I've just loved talking to you. I could talk to you for hours because you're so interesting, and I love talking about all this stuff. But how do you see the world going? Energetically, with everything that's going on at the minute, what's your thoughts on the way we're going forward?
For me, it really feels that's up to you. That's up to each individual. And something we come to understand through the science of epigenetics is how you perceive your reality is how, dictates, what informs your reality. It's if we see the world as a scary place that's going, sorry, pardon my French, not well, then our body reacts in that way. Our DNA tightens up. It shuts off. The photons stop emitting. It stops communicating with this greater information, our higher self, because we're hiding from this thing we're scared of. And when we do that, we then start actually manifesting, generating, and attracting the story that matches that.
Yeah, we're co-creating.
And so what I'm genuinely seeing right now, we're all co-creating this storyline. And so that means that if you stay in stress and fear, then the path ahead over the next years is going to be a bit more turbulent. The example I use, Nadina, is like surfing, right? In Hawaii, they have those giant waves that are just insane that people get on those things, right?
Well, how do they do
40
that?
meters of God knows what high, right? Now, it feels like collectively, all of us are on that wave right now, and it's heading to shore of a new land. Now, if we panic and fall off that surfboard, because self-awareness, we can keep on the surfboard, we're going to fall off sometimes. One thing I learned when you fall off in surfing in the waves here is, being dumped by a big, nothing like that, but a big wave long time ago when I was a teenager. And I remember I struggled because I was terrified. I was struggling so hard trying to get to the surface, scared I was going to drown. And as I was doing that, because my body's all open and struggling, I'm getting bam, whacked again because it's grabbing me because I'm struggling against it, and I'm exhausted, and I'm just, but I still roll up on the shore, right? Now, a surfer came past, and he actually came past with a broken surfboard, and he came up to me because it was a wild storm that time, and he came up and we were chatting, and he goes, man, because he saw I was knocked out, and he gave me potentially the best advice that stands to this day to deal with what we're dealing with here in the collective over the next years in this evolutionary process. And he said, man, if you ever fall off your board and you get dumped, just relax, stop struggling, stop fighting, let the ocean carry you, and you will get to the shore. And when you get there, you're going to have plenty of breath, you're going to have your energy, and you're going to be able to get right back out there again. And that's really what I see right now, is that we are going to a beautiful world. Now, it's going to be a long journey, and it's going to be an adventure. So I think we should stop thinking about, needing it to be absolutely perfect anytime soon. Instead, the real key is going to be, can you love the journey? Like you said about the dark, can you embrace that as part of a natural, real cycle? And instead of struggling against it, take back your power in whatever way it takes. Healy has helped me so much, helping get out of stress so that I can do that. But there's many other pathways.
Yes, yes. And the thing too is, like, if you're holding on to something that's an old paradigm, you're not letting go, you're not just sort of releasing, you actually are making the process longer, more arduous, more difficult, and you're just holding on to something that no longer serves. So it's like, by that process of learning to truly release, surrender, let go, you're letting God. I love that expression, let go, let God. You're letting God come through you and flow through you.
Let go and let God. And as you say that, I see this visual of like trying to surf these big waves with a diver's weight belt around your waist. You know, those big heavy weight belts divers use to keep themselves in the bottom of the ocean while they're exploring.
Yes.
As you were saying that, I was seeing like surfing with this weight belt. I mean, how hard is that to navigate a wave on a surfboard? And then when you fall and you get dumped, it's going to pull you down. And those old belief systems, those old traumas, these old things, these old stories, they are that weight belt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
we
another
need to let
way
go.
of perceiving that too is that
Beautiful.
everything that we thought was true in our world could well be completely inverse to what was the truth, could be completely opposite to what was true. So when you allow yourself to truly let go of all the old stories, all our ways of perceiving everything in the reality that we used to exist in, it allows for that new information to come forward and help us move to the next level. So on so many different levels, what you've said is relevant.
Yeah. And we will one day become superhuman.
Yes.
That it's in the gene keys, it's in our DNA, it's in our frequency. We will evolve to one day to what they will call the acidic state. You know, we have built into us superhuman potentials. That's why we have Hollywood movies about superheroes, right? That is our potential.
Totally.
It is not a story, but it's not tomorrow. You know, we're gonna taste it every now and then, but you know, we don't need those yet. Like, to me, I'm loving this adventure now. When you break out of that victim pattern, we don't need to rush the process. Weaving the story to become heaven on earth, that's the fun.
Yes.
And then we will get that. And in time, we will be superheroes. And we'll be able to expand to whole new levels we never even knew were possible.
Perfect.
And so it's really about but first, we have to enjoy where we are now.
Loving the journey. I'm going to put that on the end of the video. Love the journey. Fantastic. It was so wonderful to chat with you, Mark.
Yeah, likewise.
Really, really fabulous. And if anyone wants to find out more from Healy, again, I'll put all the information below. Mark is a few levels above me on the Healy sort of upline. So if people want to connect with Mark, they can always do that through his wonderful Telegram site, True Resonance. If you're a Healy, if you get a Healy and you want to come on board the journey, and you can listen to Mark's wonderful galactic updates every week if you're part of this team. And fantastic, Mark. So many blessings for the journey.
just on that, Medina, before you close it, I just want to say to anyone watching that you are incredible. You've been amazing. I love having you in the team. And please do, if you're interested, Medina will look after you. She's an amazing leader. And, you know, Medina, you have my support. So if you know, connect with Medina, because then you will have all of us behind you as well. Excellent. And supporting along that journey.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And you too. Much love and blessings, and chat soon. Thank you. Bye.
Much love.